operate in numerous jurisdictions right now. I think during the last 12 months, we've accumulated a handful of licenses, and I'm very happy for that achievement. We currently have licenses in Romania, in Malta, in Sweden, in Denmark. Italy has been acquired very recently, and we just completed an application for New Jersey, which I'm very proud of. There are additional licenses coming up in Portugal. We're looking into some other interesting prospect in the very near future. I'm going to leave that as a surprise. The multi-jurisdictional approach is a very difficult one, especially in our industry, taking into account how regulators are now being more and more creative in terms of the restrictions that they apply. And it's a challenge, but we have been dealing with this quite successfully. We have a very professional compliance team, and we deal with very qualified external consultants in any jurisdiction that we work in. I think that we have been very successful so far maintaining this, and I believe that we will do so in the future. And our approach to tackling each one of these jurisdictions is very unique. I think that what we have done is that we created a mechanism where we can tackle those jurisdictions very quickly, very efficiently, and I hope that we will continue this approach in the future. Oh, I think it's the farthest away from a utopia that I can think of. I mentioned it a couple of times. I think that the fact that regulators are taking different approach from each jurisdiction is what creates that difficulty. I would very much like to see some sort of a homogeneous approach between jurisdictions. I spoke about it in my panel, which I participated on Monday. I think that having some sort of a self-regulated approach to compliance would actually be beneficial for operators in our industry. I think that imposing very strict rules and regulations actually pushes operators that genuinely wants to work in accordance with regulation outside, and actually encourages operators that are working unregulated in those territories. I think that the regulators themselves need to understand this and have some assurance that the operators will operate in accordance with a set of rules, because they have a reputation to protect. They want to attract reputable players, and if they do so, it will actually create a much more efficient industry. The regulator will not have to intervene in any matter that operators are actually dealing with, and it will create a much better competition between operators, and hopefully a more flexible industry for all of us to work in. My approach was that I think that compliance departments and compliance as a whole should not be perceived as a business prevention department. I think this is something that needs to be worked in some sort of synergy. My general approach is that negativity in relation to everything that relates to compliance or saying no all the time, whether it's from internally from compliance department or externally from regulator, will actually encourage the opposite result, which is not complying with regulation, right? We need to understand how business work. And in businesses, you need to balance between the regulation and the business needs. Obviously, staying compliant, that's in no way am I suggesting that we shouldn't be compliant, but I think we need to encourage a discussion in which staying compliant is not necessarily a bad thing. We need to have a discussion with regulator explaining what I suggested before, and what will be the approach to staying compliant, and what will be the flexibilities that both regulators and internal compliance departments can offer to the business so that we can sustain our industry. From what I've seen so far, the mature market understand this. You see less restrictions in mature markets and actually more restriction in new regulations and in new license regimes. And I think that's something that needs to echo, right? Because the more mature regulators already understood that and have taken a lenient approach and have allowed operators to work in a more comfortable environment. And I think that new regulation should take note of that and understand that in the future they'll have to do this if they want to encourage operators and businesses within their territories. So Mega is our flagship. It basically is a loyalty program, which is a layer that sits on top of our casino pages. And it basically allows operators to offer customers another experience within their gaming offering, within their casino offering. And basically, we take any regular game and we apply on it a loyalty program. So, for example, if you place bets online, you get coins or you get credits that you can then translate to elements that you can use within those games, whether it's our city builders, whether it's stadium builders, and that creates some sort of incentive for players to play more. It creates a more interesting experience, and we have seen amazing results using this application. I think it's been amazing. I think that if we see this applied to other operators, they would see amazing results to their revenues, and we hope that we can introduce this to more and more operators in more and more regulations as we progress.